Breaking news! Something big is happening inside the Las Vegas Raiders locker room, and you need to know about it. After OTAs, the Raiders roster is starting to take shape, and we've just updated our 53-man projection. Who's in, who's out, and which names are rising fast. You're about to find out everything, clearly, quickly, and without the fluff. But before we get to the latest roster moves, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the bell icon so you never miss breaking updates on the silver and black. We're here to bring you the real story, every step of the way. Now let's get to it, and take a serious look at what the Raiders roster could look like heading into the next big phase. Now, let's turn our focus to the wide receiver room. And make no mistake, the battle here is heating up. The Raiders are stacking talent, and the competition is fierce. With a deep mix of skill sets, the Silver and Black are trying to build a balanced, explosive group that can deliver on Sundays. Right now, 6 receivers are standing out in the race: Jacoby Myers, Jack Beck, and Trey Tucker. No surprises. These guys are ready to make plays. Then you've got Tommy Mellott and Dante Thornton Jr., both rookies with something to prove. The final spot? For now, it goes to Kyle Phillips, not just for his route running, but also for his past chemistry with Chip Kelly. Still, names like Alex Bachman and Colin Johnson are lurking, and one big practice could flip the script. Now, the tight end room is just as competitive. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are locked in. The future of this team's passing attack could rest on their shoulders. But behind them? The fight for a roster spot is real. Names like Elijah Shorter, Ishmael Renan, Conroy, and Ian Thomas are battling it out for the final tight end spots. Only 1 or 2 may survive that final cut. With this much firepower on offense, it's clear the Raiders aren't just looking to compete. They're building a unit that can strike fast and strike often. When it comes to roster building, the trenches matter. And the Raiders know it. That's why the decision to keep only 3 tight ends makes sense. Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are young, explosive, and ready to carry the load. The third spot. A depth piece, likely a blocker, but the focus clearly shifts to where the real battles are happening: the offensive line. The Raiders are expected to keep 9 linemen this year, and some names are already cemented in: Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Jackson Powers Johnson, Alex Kappa, DJ Glaze, and Jordan Meredith. All appear to be locks. Solid, reliable, physical, just what the Raiders need. Then there's Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers, 2 promising rookies with upside. That brings us to the final choice, and it's where things get interesting. In the latest projection, Dalton Wagner gets the nod over Thayer Munford. Why? Wagner has shown more hunger in practice and hasn't missed a rep, while Munford's recent absences have raised questions. In a room this competitive, availability and effort matter. Wagner's edge in both may be the deciding factor. The offensive line is shaping up to be one of the deepest units on this roster. And with the Raiders building around physicality and competition, they're clearly sending a message. If you want to wear silver and black, you better show up ready to fight, every single day. Up next, let's flip to the other side of the ball and break down what's happening on defense. Let's move to the defensive side and start with a unit that defines the Raiders' identity: the defensive line. At defensive end, 3 names are untouchable: Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, and Tyree Wilson. These are your edge setters, your tone setters, and the backbone of the Raiders' front. But depth matters. In this latest projection, Charles Snowden takes the 4th spot. He's not the flashiest name, but he's long, physical, and relentless. If he's still on the roster despite legal concerns, it signals one thing: the Raiders trust he'll be available and ready to contribute. And in a Pete Carroll-style system, effort and grit win out every time. Now, on to the interior, the big men in the trenches. There are questions swirling, especially around Christian Wilkins. Whether it's health, conditioning, or scheme fit, something isn't fully locked in yet. That means depth is no longer a luxury. It's a must. Rookies like Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Pigs bring fresh energy, while vets like Adam Butler, Jonah Lolu, and Leki Fotu provide stability. The expectation? The Raiders could keep 6 defensive tackles, especially with whispers of 5-man fronts becoming more common in this defense. And don't overlook someone like Zach Carter. If Wilkins isn't 100%, Carter could slide in and fill a key role when it matters most. Bottom line, this defensive line group is stacked, but because the Raiders are going to lean heavily on them, depth will be the difference between dominance and disaster. Coming up, a room full of mystery and competition, the linebackers. Let's dive into one of the most transformed units on this Raiders roster. The linebackers. 2 veterans lead the charge, Devin White and Elandon Roberts. Both were brought in this offseason and are locked in as starters. They bring experience, toughness, and leadership to a defense that's craving a new identity. But behind them, a flood of new faces and unknowns. Names like Matt Jones, Jalen Walker, and Michael Barrett are entering camp hungry, while Cody Lindenberg, a 7th-round pick, will be fighting to prove he belongs on Sundays. Add in Jalon Smith and Amari Gaynor, and the battle for depth becomes one of the most intense in camp. This group is nearly unrecognizable from last season, and that's no accident. The Raiders have hit reset at linebacker, and it's clear production, not reputation, will decide who stays. This projection keeps 5 linebackers. It's a tighter group than last year, which means those who make the cut are expected to contribute immediately. No passengers allowed. Now, let's talk cornerbacks, where the battle is just as fierce. Outside coverage will be crucial, and that's where the Raiders are locking in. Jacorian Bennett, Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, and Cameron Richardson are all in the mix as boundary corners, and they've shown flashes this offseason that they can hang with NFL talent. Inside? That's where things get fluid. With the rise of hybrid looks in camp, the Raiders seem willing to use safeties as slot defenders, a shift that could change how they build the final DB room. That's why this projection includes just 5 cornerbacks, with players like Darnay Holmes likely holding down the nickel responsibilities. But keep your eyes open. Names like Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Polamau, and Lonnie Johnson Jr. could all rotate into that role, depending on how the defensive staff wants to use its versatility. In short, this isn't just a rebuild. It's a reshaping of the Raiders' defense. New pieces, new roles, and one clear message. You have to earn your place in silver and black. Up next, the final piece of the puzzle, the safety unit and special teams. The final stretch of this Raiders roster breakdown takes us into the safety unit, a group that's not just filling roles, but reshaping the way this defense operates. This offseason has revealed one thing clearly. Patrick Graham is prioritizing versatility. Safeties aren't just playing deep. They're stepping into nickel duties, matching up with tight ends and filling hybrid linebacker roles. That's why this projection includes 5 safeties, 1 more than previous estimates. The biggest name-making waves is Thomas Harper. The rookie has been getting serious looks at both free safety and in the slot, and there's real buzz around him potentially outperforming players like Darnay Holmes in nickel coverage. His ability to float between roles could be a game-changer on this roster. While names like Hudson Clark, Sutherland, and Chris Smith offer strong special teams ability, the Raiders are looking for more than just effort. They need impact. And in this room, that's a tough standard to meet. The safety unit projects to include returning contributors and a rising rookie in Harper, each one expected to bring both physicality and scheme flexibility. Now for the special teams cornerstones, 3 names Raiders fans know well. Daniel Carlson, one of the league's most dependable kickers, A.J. Cole, a Pro Bowl punter with elite placement Jacob Bobenmoyer, who locks down long snapping duties. These final 3 complete the 53-man projection, a roster built not just to compete, but to set a new tone under the current regime. Of course, roster building is never finished. Some notable names didn't make the cut. Thayer Munford, Jalon Smith, Andre Carter, Mello Dotson, and Chris Smith are among the toughest cuts, all likely battling for practice squad spots or waiting for injury-related opportunities. The competition is real, the depth is deeper than it's been in years, and the standard for making this team has risen. If you're not versatile, explosive, and scheme-savvy, you're on the bubble. The Raiders are no longer just building a team. They're crafting an identity, one that's physical, fast, and fiercely competitive.